Hello everybody and welcome back to Live Fulfilled. If you're new here, my name is Megan and I make videos every single week about how you can live a happy and fulfilling life through travel, minimalism, organization, and mindset changes. So if that sounds like something you are interested in, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you're notified when I upload new videos. I'm trying to reach 100 subscribers by the end of July, so I'd appreciate all the support. So today's video is going to be about digital minimalism, digital decluttering, digital organization, kind of a little bit of all of it. So I'm anticipating this video is going to actually be quite long because I have a lot to say. So I'm going to be breaking this video into different sections. I'm going to talk about how I got into like the disorganized spot that I was in. Then I'm going to talk about what I did to get out of there and get my digital space organized. And then I'm going to talk about how I maintain my digital space. So if you are only interested in one of those areas, you don't really care how I got there, or you just want to know how you maintain it, or whatever, you can go into the description and go to the timestamps. So let's get into part one. Also, I have notes on my phone because I have so much to talk about and so much I want to touch on, and I don't want to get super off topic. So if I'm looking at something, I'm looking at my notes. Okay, so to begin with, I just kind of want to talk a little bit about my past and how I got into the point that I was in when I had to like declutter and clean up my digital space. Digital minimalism has always been like the hardest like decluttering like area for me to declutter, because with most things, like if I wanted to clean out my dresser drawer, I could just throw everything on my floor and I could see exactly what was in there and I could easily go through and see what I didn't need. But with digital minimalism, it's not that easy. You can't just like, I mean, I guess you could probably just like throw all your files onto your desktop, but I know like that wouldn't have worked for me. I would have like overloaded my computer. Even to try to throw everything onto one external drive wouldn't have worked. Like, and it's just not like something that you can just see. And when you have as many files as I had, I don't even know, hundreds of thousands of files. It's not just quite that easy. And so this has always been like a pain point for me. Okay, so let's go back to like 10-year-old Megan. It was like the age of LimeWire and iPods. I was just like on a roll, downloading all the music that I could, downloading more of the same music, renaming files, not saving files in the same spots. I don't even know what I was doing or what I was thinking. With photos, when I first started like acquiring photos, you know, I got like my first cell phone, got a little camera, started taking photos. I didn't know what like a photo organizational system was. Like I didn't know. I just was snapping photos. No organization system at all there. And then to add to my photo problem, I somehow like duplicated all my photos like 5, 6, 7 times some of the files, and I managed to like get them in like completely different file names. And so like it's not like it was like file name 1, file name 2, file name 3. No, it was like file name, completely different file name. Like the pictures weren't even like trying to like, when you would sort, they weren't even sorting together. So I just had like copies and duplicates of pictures, and the photos was the biggest mess for me. Then for documents, I had documents everywhere. Email addresses was another one. I went through like a make a new email address every week phase. And so then I had multiple email addresses. I had multiple Gmail accounts. I had multiple YouTube channels connected to these multiple accounts, just like other accounts connected to I didn't know what email. And then also like the Google Drive, I would have like different documents and like 4 or 5 different Google Drives. Like, and then also I had external hard drives because obviously my computer, it like quickly filled up, and so then I started like junking up external hard drives. But once again, I had no organizational system for these hard drives, so I would have like things that I needed like scattered over 3 or 4 different hard drives, and then I'd have to carry all these hard drives around with me, and it was bad. In short, to sum it up, it was bad. And my number one tip of this whole entire video is don't let it get this bad. Just don't ever let it get to the point that I was at. Organize your stuff. When you put a file, when you get a file and you put it on your computer, organize it. When you take photos, organize them. Just don't get in the hole. But if you're already in a hole, which is probably why you're looking up, you know, a video like this to how to get out of that hole, that's what we're going to move into right now, is phase 2, which is going to be how I got out of like this disorganized mess that I was in, and how I organized my digital space. Okay, so you've realized that you've got a problem with stuff and you're like, where do I start? I've got 200,000 files on my computer and I don't know where anything is or what anything is. How do I start? Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is identify. Identify what you have and where you have it to the best of your ability. So you're going to want to go through the different types of like the different areas of clutter that you have. You're going to want to go through and list out all the areas of like your digital storage. So for me, that was my Evernote account, my Dropbox account, and my Google Drive accounts, because that's where I had documents, to-do lists, whatever, stored up like on the internet. And then you're going to want to go through and list out email addresses. I had to go and list out like YouTube channels because I had like, I don't even know, I think like 9 or 10. It was bad. Then you're going to want to list out like any social media accounts, like Twitter accounts, Instagram accounts, Facebook accounts, because I know I had multiple Facebook accounts because like I said, like I created all this like back in the Farmville days, and I feel like everybody had multiple Facebook accounts back in Farmville days. And then you're just going to want to list like where you have like pictures, files, music, where you have them stored. Like maybe you've got pictures on a hard drive, maybe you've got them on like your computer drive, like an external hard drive, your computer drive, maybe you've got photos up in the cloud. You just want to go through and list everything that you have and where it is. So after I got done identifying all of the clutter and all of the digital disorganization that I had going on, I sat down and I took the time and I created a system. And this is the most important step. You've got to come up with a system that works for you. And if you're interested in seeing my system, I'm more than happy to share it with you. But at the end of the day, like it's got to be a system that works for you. You know, I mean, my system may or may not work for you. You've got to figure out a way to organize those documents, organize those photos, organize those videos, organize those music. If you have music, I actually don't even have music anymore because I've discovered the glory of like YouTube. But if you still got music, you've got to figure out a system that you're going to be able to organize it all. Okay, so then after I had my system in place, I got to begin the decluttering. And this took me years. And I wish I was kidding, but I'm not. And half of the time that it took was because I did not stay consistent the whole entire time. Like I'd really get into this, like get going strong, and then I'd just be like, I have no idea. I'm so overwhelmed. I don't even know. And I just wouldn't try it for a few months, and I'd pick back up, and then once again, same thing would happen. But the other reason why this took so long is because I honestly had like hundreds of thousands of files. I don't even know how many files I had. It wasn't until I was about halfway through and I started tracking it by terabytes, not gigabytes. No, I had terabytes worth of stuff, and so it's kind of easier to watch that number. But yeah, it took me forever to do this, but I'm hoping this video can maybe save you some time because you can learn from like my mistakes and what I did, and you can just streamline what you got to get done. Okay, so getting started. So when I first started decluttering, I chose to do what felt like the easiest, like least overwhelming task at the time. And for me, that was going through my music files. So what I had done, and I don't know how I had done this. I had done this with my pictures too. I don't know, but I'd managed to duplicate files, and I'd managed to like duplicate them with like different file names, and it was this whole mess. And so I downloaded a duplicate file finder, which of course didn't work, because that would have saved me like hours and hours and probably weeks of my time, but it's fine. So yeah, duplicate file finder didn't work. So what I did is I just created for my music just like a song, like a naming system. And so I just would put like the artist name and then the song. Very simple. And so I would just go through, because the songs weren't even actually names, I'd have to go through and then I'd have to figure out like what song it was, and then I would name it, and then it would pick up if it was a duplicate file, and I could delete it. And I also, the whole entire time through all of these categories, I was deleting things that I didn't use. Like that's a big one. You can't just organize what you have. You need to clean out what you have. So songs I didn't listen to were gone. And like I said, now I actually don't even have music because I just like stream everything through YouTube. And if I'm going to be out of like internet, I just download it because I pay for YouTube Premium. But if you have music, that's how I did my music. Okay, so then pictures. This was my challenge. This was the one that broke me and made this process take years. But I figured it out, I got it done, and I'm going to tell you how I did it. And let me tell you, it was not pretty, but it worked. And it was not fast, but it worked. So, like I said, I had managed to duplicate my photos about 5 to 7 times. Like I would have 7 of the same pictures under completely different file names. So obviously I couldn't just like sort them, and I had no idea they were scattered everywhere. So what I did is I just put all my pictures into one main folder. If I had anything by chance sorted by year, I would keep like the year sorts, but other than that, it just all went into one main folder. That way I just had everything in one spot and I could go from there. I once again tried the duplicate file finder, which the program didn't work. So then I had, I don't even know, you guys, I would say probably at least 100,000 photos. I wish I was kidding, but I really am not. So I had a lot of photos and I had them everywhere. I wanted to go through, I wanted to delete the duplicates, but I didn't know where the duplicates were because they weren't in the same file, like the file name wasn't the same. And so this is what I did in order to be able to identify the photos that were the same. So I just started categorizing my photos. So what I would do is I would take all the photos that I was in and I would take all the photos that I was not in. And then once I had all the photos that I was in, I would break it down even more. I would take all the photos that I was in and I would break them down into photos outside and photos inside. So then I would take those two categories and I would break those two categories down even more. Let's say photos I was inside wearing a blue shirt versus photos I was wearing a different color shirt. I just kept breaking them down into categories like that, sorting them manually, mind you, until I had maybe like 50 to 100 photos in any given category, and then I could just go through and easily see the duplicates, delete them, and call it a day. Like I said, that was a mess, and I just want to once again emphasize the importance of not getting to that point. Just don't get to that point. Just don't let it happen to yourself. Just don't do it. Okay, so that's how I did my photos. Like I said, that was like, that one was definitely the worst. That's an understatement. So then files. I just created file system. I gathered all my files. I organized them according to my file system. I went through and I deleted all the files I didn't need. I was very brutal with myself. I got rid of most of what I was hoarding because, you know, like I felt like I needed like that, you know, high school science project that just triggers a bunch of bad memories. Like I just felt like I needed to keep that, and I was like, no, delete it. So I went through, got rid of a bunch of files, and then just organized them according to my file system. Okay, and then for my accounts, I just went through and I deleted all the extra accounts that I didn't need. So I just deleted like extra Facebook accounts, extra Instagram accounts, extra Twitter accounts, extra Evernote accounts, extra Dropbox accounts. I don't even know what other accounts I had accounts too. So I just went through and I deleted all the accounts that I wasn't using, didn't need, just because to me that's still space. You know, like, you know that Twitter account's out there somewhere and it just takes up the headspace. And I just was like, nope, I want it clean, I want it gone, I want one. I have 2, but that doesn't count because Live Fulfilled versus my personal one doesn't count. But yeah, like I don't want 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. Okay, and then lastly, the last thing that I did was I went through and deleted all the email addresses that I didn't need. And this is an important thing to do last because you're going to need these email addresses to get into the accounts that you want to delete. And it's going to be a problem if you delete the email and then you can't access the account, and that would be bad. So lastly, I just went through and I deleted all my extra email addresses, and so now I just have one email address that I give like out to things that I know are going to send me junk mail. I have an email address that I use for business. I have a Gmail account, and then I have a Live Fulfilled email account, and then like a work one, but that doesn't count. That's what I was left with. And so I had gone through, I had organized all my items, I had got rid of most of it, like it was great. And then came part 3, which was creating a system and figuring out how to maintain what I had just done. That way I could never, ever, 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 ever let it get that bad again. When I created my maintenance system, the thing that I really wanted to focus on most was how I was going to organize my photographs. So I actually created a Trello board called Photography Workflow. That way when I took photos, I had a system in place to get them put away and organized properly. I then downloaded a password and / like account manager. That way I could easily keep track of all the accounts that I had. And then the other big thing that I did was I committed to one spot for to-do lists, and I committed to one spot for notes. And up to this day, that to-do list, up until I actually discovered Trello, like that to-do list was the hard one for me because I wasn't keeping my to-do lists like stored digitally everywhere, but I was keeping them on paper everywhere. But I committed to one tool that I'd put all of my notes in, and I committed to one tool that I'd put all my to-dos in. For my notes, I use Evernote, and just one Evernote account, of course. And then I actually also have GoodNotes for digital note taking. So I mean, technically two, but it's completely different because one's like writing and one's like typing. But that's what I use, and I just have one account for each of them, and that's the only place I'm allowed to put notes and the only place I'm allowed to put to-dos. So then I also set up a digital maintenance system, and I do things daily, weekly, and monthly in order to maintain my digital space. So I'm just going to read this off my phone. That way I don't like skip anything. But here's my system. So every night I go through my photos on my phone and I delete the ones that I had took that day that I don't need. This prevents hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of photos that are like repeats and blurries, just like junking up my camera roll. Every night I just go through. If it's not a photo that I need, it's gone. And then at night, I also clean out the notes on my phone because, like I said, I've committed to one place for notes and one place for to-dos. But I still find for me sometimes it's just easier to pop into that iPhone note app and jot something down. But it cannot live there. It cannot make its home there. It's got to go and live where it belongs. And so every single night I go through that notes app and I pull out, if I jotted something down, and I put it either in Evernote, GoodNote, or Trello. Like I put it where it's got to go. And then the other thing that I do, which I didn't really actually talk too much about here, but I just make sure that my email accounts are at inbox 0 because I just follow inbox 0. I think that is like so nice to only have to like deal with an email once. Twice, I guess. Maybe when you delete it, if you delete it again, if you put it into a folder and have to delete it. But nonetheless, it's not there in your inbox and you don't have to look at it and be like, do I need to do something with that? It's inbox 0 is great. Okay, so those are my daily tasks: to clean out my pictures, clean out my notes app on my phone, and just to make sure that my inboxes are at inbox 0. Okay, so then weekly I have tasks as well. So this is what I do, like I do these once a day. So on Sundays, I go through the notes app and make sure that I don't have any notes on my computer. This is something that I do once a week because it's not something I tend to junk up. Sometimes I'll just like copy a link or something in that I'm going to have to link into like a blog post or a YouTube video or something like that maybe I don't need. But for the most part, this area stays clean. Mondays, I go through and just double check that my external hard drive is still organized and good to go, that I haven't like junked it up. I clear out anything I don't use. If I've got done with a project and I don't necessarily need all the files, I'll go through and clean that out. On Tuesday, I go through my digital notes. Like I said, I use GoodNotes for digital note taking, and so I just go through. If I don't need any notes there, I will delete those notes. On Wednesdays, I go through my iPhotos folder. So what I've done in my iPhotos is I've created different things. I've created like take action, things I want to buy, just a few different folders. So that way maybe like I take a picture of something that, hey, maybe I want to buy. And then I can put that into that folder, or maybe like a take action or something, and I can put that into the folder to remind myself. And then that way I know that it's not getting lost in my camera roll, because like I said, every night I clean out my photos, and photos that I don't need, I delete. But if it's something that I need to temporarily keep, I'll just stick into a folder, and then once a week I clean out those folders. And then Thursdays, I clean out my screenshot folder on my computer. I have like a folder designated to screenshots that I take, and I take a lot of screenshots. So I have to go through every single week and like clean out the ones that I don't need anymore. And then Friday, I go and I delete all the spam and trash out of my email accounts. And I actually got, what's the name of this? It's called Edison Mail. It's like a email management app for Mac. And I actually downloaded this, and I love this because now all my email addresses are in one place. It just saves so much time. But the best thing about this for this task is now there's literally one button. Sorry, my camera was like, you've talked too long, try again. But yeah, so the best thing about this Edison Mail app is that there's one button I have to hit and it empties the trash of all my email accounts, and one button to hit to empty the spam out of all my email accounts. So now this task takes like 30 seconds. And then every Saturday I go through the downloads folder on my computer, just once again to make sure that there's not just like a ton of files junking it up. Okay, and then on to tasks that I do monthly. So on the first of every single month, I go through all my emails that I've kept the previous month. So like I said, I follow inbox 0. So I will always, like when an email comes into my inbox, I'll either do whatever needs to be done and delete it, or if it's something that I need to save for whatever reason, I will put it into like a respective folder that it belongs into. Once a month, I just go through those folders to make sure that there's nothing in there that I don't need, that that it's clean and it's not junked up. Then on the 5th of every single month, I go through my Dropbox, just do the same thing, make sure that I don't have files in there that I don't need. On the 10th, Google Slides, 15th, Google Sheets, and 20th, Google Docs, doing the same exact thing, just going through, making sure it's organized and making sure there's nothing in there that I don't need. On the 25th, I go through my Lightroom photos because those get really junked and like that's a thing. But yeah, I go through those on the 25th of the month. And then on the last day of the month, I back up all my hard drives because I actually lost a ton. Well, it's not lost, but I had a hard drive crashed and it's pretty much lost because it's going to be like probably $1,500 to get my files back. And so I've learned my lesson. I make sure everything is backed up, and then like throughout the month, like the time machine backs up and everything. Like, back up your files, friends. That's another big tip. So that is the schedule that I came up with myself, knowing what I have and knowing what I need to keep organized. So I think that is all that I have for this video. I hope if you're doing a digital declutter that you found this video helpful, and I hope that if you're not in a mess where you have to do a digital declutter, that you found this video inspirational not to get into a mess, because the easiest thing to do is just not get to that point. So one more thing before I go. If you are not already signed up to the Live Fulfilled newsletter, there's going to be a place in the description box to sign up for it. The printable coming out this month is actually going to be on digital decluttering. And so I'm going to be creating a printable to help walk you through digital decluttering and setting up your own decluttering maintenance system. So the link to that will be in the description box. If you're watching this after that email has come out, that's okay. Sign up for the newsletter, because when you do, you actually get access to the archives of the newsletter, and so you can get access to the printable. So it's not too late. And so that is it for the video today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.